Ayman Khan here for Seconds Out with the one and only Shane McGuigan. Shane, sir, how you doing?
Good, thanks, mate. Yeah, down for this different setting for the media workout. It should be good fun.
Good fun indeed. Let's start with the positives. Caroline Dubois is out. Look, a lot of talk about Caroline. I've said to you before, she's a bit of a unicorn in terms of her power, but just getting her the right fights at the right time, and this is another one of those fights.
Yeah, this girl's she's a really established fighter. She's had only the 2 losses. She's avenged one, and then the other one was against Estelle Mosley, who was a Olympic gold medalist as well. So and that was a split. So it's when you read in as she's the opponent, a split decision, it probably could have gone either way. I've seen the highlights of it. Yeah. So a very, very good fight, a massive step up, but one that I think she was needing in her career, because we tried to step up in the last one, the opponent fell through. So looking forward to Friday night for her to put on a good show, because all of the hard work we've been doing in the gym for the last couple of years is I think it's going to come down to a big showcase on Friday.
I think when she did an interview with Danny Flexen, she kind of called out Michaela Mayer and said, look, I'm ready for that fight. Do you feel she's ready to be put in the mix with the likes of Michaela Mayer?
I think she's ready right now, yeah. I think I would like her to fight for a world title by the end of the year. And then obviously you've got to box the Michaela Mayers. Obviously it would be nice to have it for a world title, but we'll have to see what Katie Taylor's going to do with those 4 belts after her loss up at 140. She's obviously probably got intentions to go back down to for the rematch, but I heard that it was going to be at 135, but she wants to fight her at 140. So if that's the case, then we got to put pressure on the governing bodies to see what they're going to do with the belts.
So the feeling is that her ability kind of overlaps the inexperience to put her in that type of fight.
Yeah, I don't think it's necessarily even inexperience. You got Ellie Scotty has just won a world title on her 7th fight. So obviously the lightweight division's a bit more. There's more depth in that division, so there's more challenges, and you probably have a few more fights to get to the top level. But she's ready to go. Honestly, I think what I see in the gym all the time, phenomenal fighter, great power. Got a really tough fight on Friday, and this girl's very feared. She's quite big as well, and she can punch. I think she's got a few stoppages, 3 or 4 stoppages out of her 16 wins as well. So it's no pushover at all, and it's one where over the 8 rounds, I think Caroline will be able to break it down and win on points, or if it potentially get a stoppage.
What is the current status with Adam Azim? He's obviously been pulled off with a card, and is there any worry in terms of any future injuries to the hands, being the fighter like his style, who's fast and punches hard, that can kind of creep up in your career?
Yeah, I know. I've seen a lot of people obviously stating that. He's got basically he injured his hand in sparring. There was a lot of swelling, so we went and we got an X-ray, and then we got an X-ray and it was absolutely fine. We got Kevin Lidlow is a really good physio. He was checking it over and he said, look, there's inflammation, but there's no ligament damage. And from what his test that he does, you guys can keep cracking on and punching. And because of the swelling, the swelling was rubbing against the friction, frictioning on the knuckle, and then the cut opened, and that got infected. Okay. So it's it was just a really annoying set of circumstances that he went on antibiotics, he was on anti-inflammatories, the hand was hot, and we tried to basically wait to prolong it, and then we tried, this was at the start of last week, then when we sparred on Friday, and it was he couldn't even close his fist, there was so much swelling, and he got a few rounds in, and it was just it was excruciating. So he's gone for an MRI scan, the results are back today, but look, he's 20 years of age, and you can't risk someone's career to force him into a fight that with a hand like that, you know what I mean? So it's extremely annoying, but I think at the same stage it was just a measured decision. Kevin Lidlow said, Shane, I really don't think the antibiotics and stuff are going to bring the swelling down by that stage. You'll see, I don't know if he's here today, but he was over at Sky yesterday, and still a lot of swelling around the back of the hand. So frustrating. We'd like to reschedule it. Hopefully we can reschedule it in, I think there's a show on August the 5th being talked about. So if we can get that same opponent for then, that would be great.
That's the ETA for us to turn August 5th.
Huh?
That's the ETA for his return, August 5th.
Well, that's what we're looking at. We're looking at it like he's a headline fighter, but obviously with this, and obviously the Sky Sports and that have a certain amount of shows that they need to put out. So I think he might not be a headline on that one, but if we can get him out on that card, because we want him out before that break in August, you know.
So then I wanted to ask you, in the aftermath of CBS versus Lawrence Okoli, was that when it was first mooted, the fight, you were kind of hesitant to be involved in the fight, but afterwards, because of the respect that was shown, maybe more willing to do it in the future. Would you be more willing in the future to be involved in a current versus former fight if it ever arose outside of CBS versus Okoli?
But which one can we do? Oh, I mean, we could do Caroline versus Chantel Cameron, or we could do Adam Azim versus Josh Taylor, but I think Josh is going to move up to 147. So, of course, I'm always up for it. You know, I mean, there was no malice between me and Lawrence. Very similar to me and Daniel Dubois. Like, obviously, there was the other two went with an organisation which has since been folded, and there was a social media attack on us to try and deflect attention away from what was really going on. So there's a lot more depth there's a lot more depth and history to the other ones, and I just don't think they'll be up for it. But maybe in future.
Can I ask you what you saw from Josh Taylor's performance against Teofimo Lopez, suffering his first, some call it his second defeat to Jack Catchell, but not that Josh Taylor was seen before?
No, I mean, it's hard for me to comment because whatever I say, I can't really win. I can be seen to be looking like bitter, but I don't think it was the best version of him. So it's just a shame because that was if you look at the recent form that Teofimo was on, yes, you look at the recent form that Taylor was on, it kind of equaled itself out. But if he'd have been in the pomp, you know, you'd have been going into that fight. We'd have been going into that fight, say after the Regis Prograis fight, with a lot of confidence because, you know, it's like he picks his moments to work Lopez. He's a good, sharp counter puncher, but when you sustain the pressure and you constantly changing the range and, you know, moving your head and stuff like that, and you know, it's like there was no consistency throughout his work. It was very like trying from a little bit too far out. And then when he was on the inside, just getting manhandled about, and people might say it's the weight, but I don't see it because I've worked with a lot of fighters that have struggled at weight, and he definitely didn't. I don't think I've always said he's a career 140. I don't think he's got the size, and his attributes get completely lost when he goes to 147. So, yeah, he might be able to pick up a slow shot 147 fighter, but the top boys are going to be too good for him.
A word on Anthony Fowler, who's confirmed his retirement from the sport now.
Very, very, very happy for him. Top lad, and I think it's the right decision. You know, a lot of people drag their careers on far too long because money issues, and they always think, "What if I can do this and that?" And I said to him after his last fight, "You got to really just weigh up where you want to go in your life. You know, you don't want to be dedicating another 3 or 4 years to boxing, and the wear and tear that you get in those 3 and 4 years, it's completely different to the 15, 16 years that you've had in the amateurs when you're fresh and you're young. That's when those fights catch up with people, and you know, same age as George Groves retiring, 30 years of age. I mean, everyone will say, "Oh, you've definitely got a few more in you," but those are the ones that aren't taking the punches. You know, the people that are taking the punches are the ones that are feeling it. And from a coach and a friend, like, I'm looking at it and saying, look, 2 lovely children, you got a missus that you're all really happy, and you got that's what life's all about, you know. And obviously you got a few investments, then why would you need to go and step into a boxing ring? So he sat on it a long time, but he made the correct decision, in my opinion.
You've heard the same thing in Anthony Fowler's retirement. Final couple from me, Shane. Daniel Dubois, former charge, takes on Oleksandr Usyk. Look, a lot of people, if we could say it straight, they're really writing off Daniel's chances against Usyk and saying, look, he's got to land and be able to land on Usyk. Is it as simple as that for Daniel?
I think Daniel's boxing ability is underrated. From what I've seen in the gym, you know, he struggles to transfer what you do in the gym to the fights, and that's maybe is like youth or maybe sometimes he just can't do it when there's a crowd around him. Do you know what I But he's got all of the tools to be able to excel and become a world champion. It's just whether he can put all of those tools together. And I think you're in there with an absolute master, a guy that can switch you off with movement. And I think that's what's going to happen. He's going to get switched off with movement, and I hope he puts on a good performance and lands a shot. But I can see a one-sided points decision.
Injury suffered play a big factor as well.
Injury?
Against Lorena, for a big guy as well.
Yeah, I mean, obviously it was it wasn't that well documented, but he did have a knee issue. So it's confidence-wise, but luckily I think it's been pushed back to the end of August, which is helping him even more. And then you think to yourself, he has to roll the dice, but your confidence will definitely be down getting dropped in his last fight for sure.
I think Spence versus Crawford. Who's your winner?
I think Crawford. I think the inactivity of Spence. I think the fact that he's had that tragic stuff outside of the ring. You just with the car crash, and I just don't think he's he trains really hard, and he's obviously bought this farm now, and he's putting himself out there. But you just wonder what the wear and tear has been like on his body, the detached retina. All of these things I think will stack up, and I think Crawford is fresh. If you'd asked me that question a few years ago, I probably would have said, just as Crawford was getting up to 147, he wasn't fully established, I'd have said Spence. But the fact that he's been at it longer, I can see a Crawford stoppage maybe, or points.
Looking forward to the fight. Shane, thanks for being SecondsOut. Cheers.